Hi, I'm George Pearson, and this is a tutorial video for Adobe's Photoshop program. You'll find links in the description for any materials used in this video, and of course don't forget to subscribe, like, and also share the video. I really appreciate that. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the video. In this video we're going to be doing the popular double exposure technique. I'm sure you've seen this before. I've seen quite a few of these on YouTube, but I wanted to show you my particular way of approaching this. Now, to do this effect, there are four basic layers that are going to be used. We have a background layer in here, a color layer, this is the original image, a black and white version of that color layer, and then our environment image up here. Notice these all have layer masks along with them. Down here, these are in between steps, so we'll see how this whole thing is done here. Let's now close this file and we'll start from scratch. There we go, closed file, and then I'll open back up that image file in here. Now you'll find a link to this image on the material support page for this video. The first thing I want to do is I want to crop in on this image. I'll grab the crop tool and we'll just bring it in a bit, and I'll bring the other side in a bit. So I kind of a square, just looks kind of nice for this image. Doesn't have to be perfect, just about like that. Hit the enter key and that sets that in. Okay, there's our basic layer. Now I'm going to be saving this layer and not touching this layer. This is my safety layer. In case I mess up, I can always go back to that layer. Let's begin building our layer stack now. The first thing I want is a new layer above that, and let's fill this layer with white. Set to your default colors and then invert those, and there's white. There's a default color button and invert right there. Grab the paint bucket and click and just fill that with white. There are other ways of doing that, shortcut keys and so forth, but this makes it easy to see what we're doing. Okay, now back to the move tool, back to our background layer. Now grab this, drag it down to the new layer button like that, and make a copy of that. And then drag that above your white layer. Okay, now we need to make a layer mask for this. And I want a nice careful layer mask done. We'll be using a selection and also the refine edge on that. Now to make this easy to control, I'm going to be using the polygonal lasso tool. I'll just zoom in here. There we go. Now this tool allows me to make lines and then choose where I want to have that line. It's a really easy to use tool because I can come in here and just make some decisions as to where that line is going to be. So it's, again, easy to use tool, one of my favorites. Now when you get down to a part like this, you're going to be going off the image. Two ways to do this. One is if you just roll off the image, the window will automatically scroll for you like that. That's pretty good. And then we can continue on this. Or if you want, you can actually hold the space bar down and convert the tool temporarily into a hand tool, and then just kind of move the image that way. It's up to you. And let go of the space bar and you're back to your tool again. Okay, so I'll just come around and we'll create our selection here. I'll just use the auto scroll function, and they'll come way down around the side here. Auto scroll like that, and auto scroll off the side. And I'll go clear on the whole image this way. And then once we are around the image, come off the image here, actually make your selection outside like that, and then just pull it straight across, and we'll finish the other side of the image. We'll then switch over to the refine edge tool and let the refine edge tool actually give us the tight selection right against the image, and we'll then go in and do any cleanups that we need to do on that refine edge. This image is pretty good for the refine edge. It has a nice clean background, a lot of contrast between the image and the background, so it's a pretty easy one for that tool to handle. Sometimes the refine edge tool has problems, but it's not going to give us any issues on this particular image. I'm using that mostly because we have this kind of little ruffly hair stuff going on. It will make that part is very, very easy using that tool. Okay, right back to our beginning. Click right there. There's our selection. Okay, let's now go up to Select and Refine Edge. There's our refine edge. You can see here's my brush for that. Mine is currently set at 64 pixels for that. That's a good size for this particular image. Now I found when you're using the refine edge, I'm going to ignore all of those settings and just use the refine edge in its default settings. Now I found on things like hair, if you go once outside then once in closer, it seems to do a better job. I'll do once out here and then I'll do once closer in. It just seems to work a little bit better if you do it that way. You know, 1 and then 2 passes on that. Don't ask me why, ask just kind of the way that the tool behaves. And it's just a matter of going along the edge and making your selection. Now again, hold the space bar down, and you then get the hand tool, and you can then move the image around to select a new spot. And we'll just continue on down and let the refine edge give us a nice clean selection right up against that edge. If a little spot like that happens, it doesn't quite catch. Oh, there it went. Second pass again took care of that. But we'll do a step to clean up any little problems on this refine edge tool as a second pass on it. Okay, there's side 1. Spacebar down. Let's move over to the other side. And I'll do this side. Notice I also like to work in just little steps at a time on this. Just kind of take my time and work my way up and make sure I catch any little mistakes in there. There we go. As you see, sometimes you have to do it a couple of times before it really catches the selection that you want. Once this is done, we'll be using this same mask on all of our layers, all of our image layers. And as I frequently say in my videos, this is the most important step in the whole process. Do a careful job on your selection, and everything else will go fairly easily. Okay, last little bit up here. Sometimes when you're along edges like this, this tool has some trouble. Let's see how it does up here. Not too bad. It's a little off right there, but I think we'll be able to fix that. A little thin right there. Okay, once you've done that edge, come down to Output Section and Output 2, New Layer with Layer Mask. Choose OK. Here's our new layer with our layer mask. Now we are seeing the white down there because the layer mask is showing that. And you can see right up here, it's a little bit thin, a little bit of a gray effect up there. Let's just clean that up. Any cleanup on that is done on the layer mask itself. White paint will show and black paint will hide. I want to hide that, so use our black paint and our paintbrush, and I'll bring that size down a little bit. You can use the bracket keys if you want to make this a bit easier to adjust your size, but I'll keep things on screen so you can see exactly what it is that I'm doing. Okay, just a little cleanup in there on the edge of that mask. There we are. Let's now fit that to our screen, and nice clean image, nice clean matte on that. Okay, take this layer and drag this layer down to the new layer button. Make a copy of that. This is going to be our black and white layer. Easy to do. Make sure that you're on the image side. Look for that white outline. Go up to Image, Adjustments, and then down here to Desaturate, and just make that into a black and white image. Okay, so far so good. Now let's bring our environment picture in. So I'll open that one up, File, and open Recent. Here we go. It's one called Color Theory. Again, the link for this image is on my video support page. So I'll just float that by dragging that down, and then grab that image and just drag it onto the picture. There we go. It should come in above your black and white layer because that's where you were at last. And let's just bring it down to the bottom left-hand corner. I want to resize this. So Edit. You can do Free Transform, which is just the Control+T keyboard shortcut, or Scale, same thing. And I'll pull this up to the top of the picture and over to the right side. I just want to make it fit the actual picture. There we go. And hit the Move tool or that green check mark up there to set that in. So there it is. There's the image. Now we need to first make sure the image is just matching the person, and then second, blend the two together. The first part is easy. Go over here to the right side, click on the layer mask, hold the Alt key down and drag the layer mask up to that layer. So just like this. What that does is it copies the layer mask from this layer up to this layer. And you see there's the effect. We now have this image inside of our person. Now we want to have the person shown through the image. This is the blending part, the double exposure part of that. Different ways of doing this. The old-fashioned way would be to take the opacity and change the opacity setting and have kind of a blending effect like that. But it's not very good, as you can see. It's not really very believable. So we're going to be leaving that up, and instead we'll be using a blending mode over here. Go blending mode and screen. That's one option in there. We have blending mode and overlay is another option, much darker effect in there. So different blending modes. Here's a soft light blending mode. Different blending modes will give you different effects depending on the image that you're working with. There's darken. There's multiply. Color dodge, kind of interesting. But we'll use screen for this particular image. So we now have the image showing through our picture. We have that double exposure effect. We now can improve this whole thing. The first thing I want to do is I want to get rid of the color that's in this image up here. So let's just desaturate this layer as well. So image, adjustments, and desaturate, and just pull the color out. There we go. Now I want to see more of the eyes in here and the nose and the mouth. I want to bring that stuff out, and we'll do that by painting black over here on the layer mask for the environment picture right there. If I paint black in here, it's going to hide the environment picture and show the black and white image through. So make sure you're on the layer mask, look for the white outline. We're painting black, make sure color is black. Let's go to the paintbrush, and I'll bring that size up a little bit. I'm using a very, very soft brush here. Go to about 200, that's pretty good. On this image, 200 is about the right size, about the same size as the eye. So again, I'm painting with black right there on the layer mask over here. And as I paint in with black, you can see what happens. It is now hiding that part of this image, so I'm seeing this image through that hole. So I can then come in and just paint a little bit in here to bring in a bit of that image. And I want the nose like that, and the mouth, and both eyes, other eyes over here someplace. A little too much that time. Let me just undo that brush. And we'll step backwards a couple of shots. There we go. Let's get just the eye. And bring that out. And a little bit of the dark around the eye. There we go. Now I want to also bring some of the image around the edge. The ear is easy. I'm just going to paint the ear like that. There we go. I'll leave that as is. I'm going to change the size of my brush up a bit more. Let's go to 300. This will be a little softer because it's a little bit larger. And I'm now going to go just around the outside edge here. Again, I'm still on my layer mask for the environment picture. And just a little bit way out of the edge to kind of bring some of that photo back in on the edge side. It gives me a little bit of a kind of a vignette effect this way. And just carefully working my way down the image here. I have just the effect that I want. It's one of those things where you want to take some time on this. Don't go too fast with it. Let's get a real nice effect. And a little bit along here, and a little bit on the right hand side, and then same thing down the left hand side there. Here we go. Maybe a little bit on the bottom corners. Just darken those down just a touch. Okay, so there's the basic look. Now we can improve this further by bringing in a bit of the color from our color layer. Not too much, just a bit. So I'm just going to change the opacity of this layer, of our black and white layer. Bring the opacity down to about 89 or so. Here we go. And it just brings a little bit of color through. So it's kind of like a very, very subtle color effect. Now the last thing I want to do is I want to give this a better background coloration. So let's make a new layer, come down to our layer 1. This is the white layer that we did previously. Click on the new layer button. Here's our new layer. Let's now change our colors. I'm going to reverse the colors. Black in front. Click on the background and come right over here to the middle. So it's a middle gray. Let's find kind of a nice mid blue color in here, and then come straight across and up about that far. So we're about a third of the way down maybe in here. So there's my two colors. Let's grab the gradient tool, which is now the default setting on this is going to be foreground to background. That's what I want, which is right there, foreground to background. And then take that gradient, click right above, just off the picture up here, and drag that straight down to the bottom, let go, and that gives us that nice gradient in the background. Now if you want to adjust the value of this, easy to do. Just change the opacity of this to show a little bit of the white through. That's why we have our white down there, of course. So go up here to opacity and bring it down maybe about 10% or so. There we go. It just kind of softens up those colors. So there we go. That's how to do that double exposure effect. Again, it's real basic. You have a background layer. I'm actually using 2 for my background in here. You have your color layer with a layer mask. Duplicate that, make a desaturated or black and white version of that same layer mask. Bring in your environment on top. Alt and drag the layer mask up here. So your environment is up here. The environment uses the screen or different blending mode depending upon the effect that you want. Go ahead and try those other ones. There's some fun stuff in there. But I'm using screen. And then paint black with a large soft brush, black on the layer mask to show through more of the image down below. And then finally adjust the opacity of the image to show a little bit of the color through. And there you go. There is your double exposure effect. Thank you for watching this special Photoshop photography project video. Don't forget to subscribe so that you will get first notice of new project videos in the future. Just click on this link right here where it says subscribe here. You can get all 12 project videos in this series along with 26 special videos demonstrating the tools and techniques that I used in these projects by clicking on this link right down here. And then thank you again for watching this